on what the basics are about life, on how we're supposed to maintain our individuality, what we're supposed to believe in. That's different. Because what you believe in is how you carry on your life. What your core beliefs and your values are is what creates the lifestyle for you. It's a lifestyle. But sometimes we just need to take a break, and reflect on life, think about who we are, where we've been, where we're going. And for anybody who watches my videos and knows how I am or who I am, you know that I am spiritually guided to fulfill this purpose of mine. So I am making this video because I feel it's time. And so, I've been wanting to make this video for a while, but I feel like God was like, hold up, wait a minute. Before you make this video, I need for you to get clear on your understanding of what you're about to talk about, which means more experiences, more awakenings, more lessons. You know how the story goes. Okay. So let's get a little up close and personal. Now, anybody who follows this channel or is a Facebook friend of mine and has watched my live videos about my childhood traumas or my experiences, you know that's pretty much what this channel consists of. Things that I've experienced in my life. Pardon me, I just want to say excuse me if you hear me sniffling, coughing, or clearing my throat because I am getting over a sinus infection. So, not, I don't want to be like, oh, dude, what is she? Yeah, it's all up here. Seems like every time I want to make a video, I'm like getting over with a cold or I'm sick or something like that. And I'm like, I want to make this video and ain't nothing going to stop me. So, I will add that this may be a series. I'm going to make this video with kind of like a... just this one's gonna be more of an info based, and then my following videos after this will be more about personal experience. But of course, I don't speak upon anything that I really don't know about or that I haven't already went through myself. But I have did a little bit of like research, googling some information just so I can help with anybody who is curious and just inform myself on stuff that I didn't know myself. So, as I was saying, with all of the videos that I've posted, there's just a little smidge topic that I really avoid or don't talk about, and that is God, religion, prayers, all of that. And the reasoning being is in today's era, we just don't talk about stuff like that because it's touchy and you may offend somebody, or people just have differing beliefs, and that's okay. We're actually gratefully, thankfully, in a time now where people are starting to open up more about their spirituality and their gifts and their purpose in life and following that dimension and that determination to inspire others to drive towards their passion and purpose. So the question I get all the time, and it ain't even so much a question, it's more or less like, why don't you, Starla, why don't you talk about, God, or why don't you talk about, your religious belief systems, or, do you even believe in anything at all? And I get asked this a lot, mainly from the people who don't really know me on a personal basis, because it's like, some people believe and know that I believe in God. But some people question me just because of how I've lived my life and the situations I've been in. So before I even get into anything about me, we're just going to briefly discuss about what's the difference between spirituality and religion, because they are two separate things. And once I get done reading off this info, then we'll kind of attach the two and connect the dots, okay? So first, what is the difference between spirituality and religion? Now, we hear a lot about, oh, I don't practice religion, I'm just a spiritual person. We hear that often. I know I do. All right, so the definition of spirituality says, it is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. Excuse me. Recognition that there is something greater than oneself, part of a cosmic or divine nature, opening of the heart, and the connection to God or the spirit world. It is composed of three aspects: relationships, values, and life purpose. It also consists of following a purpose in life, and it is the connection from the heart and mind to the mind and spirit of God. It also says that spirituality is embracing how one values God, human identity, and the material world. It is the belief with or without a religion. So spirituality is more like a belief system with a religion or without it. Like you can not believe that there's a higher power, but you are a spiritual person. This is pretty much what it's saying. All right, so spirituality is based off of seeking truth, peace, and also consists of people who believe in reincarnation. I know a lot of people I've met in my life who do not believe in the afterlife or that we could possibly have past lives. We'll touch base on that. Now, the reasons for spirituality, why somebody would even seek some type of spiritual nature, is for purpose, connection to our source, our creator, God, for growth, for wisdom, for happiness, or to ease stress or anxiety or any type of disorders, enlightenment, to overcome a transformation, and for missionary work. A divine purpose on why they feel like they should do a certain task or job, kind of like how I feel like I make a difference making these videos. So there are so many different religions in this world, and religions are created by cultural basis, meaning a group of people get together and they create a religion. Now, I solely stand by try and experience whatever ones you feel like you want to test out and try. Now, in order to get the full benefits of them, I do suggest committing to each one that you try. And I think what you'll know is meant for you is when you feel that sudden urge, that pull of emotion that allows you to experience that religion more than the others. Now, it's possible that you might end up... Sorry, my little one smashed her finger. Okay. So, I believe that we can create our own religion within ourselves. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of opposing opinions on this, and that's okay, because, like I said, I haven't talked about this specific... I made the clear mistake that I've never really made before. Specific. I can't believe I said Pacific. What? Sorry, I just had a moment. I haven't talked about this topic because of these specific reasons. And I think that once you become more in tune with yourself and you start seeing life a lot differently and you start detaching yourself from everybody's opinions and how your life should be, you'll start to understand that you are creating a life for yourself. And that includes creating a spiritual belief for yourself. It doesn't have to match to the next person's or your family's or your community. None of that. Now, don't take me wrong. There are some cultures that grow up in a belief system that if they step out of that, there are serious consequences. And, and I can't speak upon those just because of my own childhood experiences, which I will touch base on. So that was my whole point, was experience all of them until you feel this authentic, organic pull to connect with a specific one. So a lot of people look into spirituality so they can cultivate results or a deeper knowing to something, whether it be mysteries of the universe or, all of the theory stories that we hear, conspiracy wise of what and how evolution or who was before us, or just were we made from monkeys? I mean, all of that. Like, there's always that curiosity, which is why people seek to learn higher knowledge of the spirit world. Now, there are ways of cultivating this knowledge, which is, here are a few. Meditation, which is controlling your attention to certain areas of your life. Prayer, which is devoting or surrendering. Breathe or energy work, which is normally mantras, and that includes healing or purifying or balancing systems in our body. Somatic techniques, which is like body postures, specific body postures for flowing energy purposes. And then over time, our experiences create qualities about ourselves, and that include a bond between mind and our heart and spirit, which includes tranquility, humility, detachment, compassion, trust, discipline, devotion, courage, discernment, truth. And like I said, these are all developed over time. These are not stuff you're born with. This is stuff that you develop over traumas, experiences, knowledge taught to you. But there are some characteristics that you learn, and there's some characteristics that you adapt to, if you know the difference. There's some, like, almost like a chameleon. Like, you can sit here and be one way, in certain parts of nature, of whatever your surroundings are, and then you've got some characteristics that you just authentically are. It's like saying, like, somebody's, oh, they're just a compassionate person, like, that's just what they do, that's who they are. Or opposed to, you got somebody who's like, oh, they're just being that way because they're around so and so, type of stuff. So excuse me. And then let's see. Some people also practice chanting, which are also like prayers or meditations, speaking affirmations. They're like shortcut versions to kind of like, it's like repetitive. I don't know how else to word that, except for, it's a repeating. Anyways. And then there's asceticism. I should have looked up how to say this. I did not know this word until I looked it up. And I'm actually like, intrigued, because like I've done what the definition of this word is, but I don't know how to pronounce it and I've never seen it. But it includes periods of self-discipline, which is including no self-indulgences. It's vows of abstinence, mind detox, spirit cleansing. It creates willpower, self-control, peace, and contentment. Which, excuse me, if anybody has followed me, you all know that I have been abstinent going on 22 months now. I have done spiritual cleansing. I am actually doing, I have done breathing techniques. I did that when I was pregnant with my daughter, which helped a whole lot. I do that whenever my anxiety is really bad, or if I'm like just really having just a rough day and shit's just going all over the place. So a few of these I have actually included in my overall daily life for a few years now, which is why I feel clear enough mentally to create this video for you all, because I feel like I am more confident in being able to talk about this. And you know, you get to a certain part in your life spiritually wise to where you want to be able to share the info. You want to be able to, you know, attract like-minded people who have the same belief systems as you and think like you. Or, I mean, I take that back, because you're not always going to find people who are like you, but it helps to know that you can surround yourself with people who, you know, just agree with how life works and who we are as people and human beings. And but again, you know, I'm so strong about like individuality, and you know, that's why spirituality is such a huge topic nowadays, because people are practicing so many different things and are creating, hold on just a second. No, don't touch that. It's nasty. There's so many different type of religions all over the world. Like, I didn't even want to Google that because there's so many. But, you know, those are where ethics, rituals, specific services come in. And so when I looked up the definition of religion, it says, religion is the belief in and worship of a superhuman controlling power, including God or gods. Particular system of faith and worship. It is a social cultural system of designated behaviors, practices, morals, beliefs, prophecies, or organizations. And it is also, in quotations, to tie or bind people together. Now, when I started to read further into, you know, the basics of religion, it said that it's where it ties groups of people together to come together with the same belief system, which is where I was talking about with the spirituality of where you get together with like-minded people who believe the same thing, and then, you know, it feels good to have that because you have people that you can connect to and share experiences with. And you know, nowadays you've got social media to where you have this open, you know, platform to talk about spirituality and, you know, and such. And people, I feel like, that are now, okay, so I'm always talking about we're here for a divine purpose. Each one of us have a specific purpose. And the thing is you won't know what your purpose is until you've experienced what spirituality actually feels like and what it means to you. You know, you can't just wake up one day and be like, oh, I know what my purpose is. My purpose is to walk dogs, you know, like, I mean, it could be, you know what I'm saying, for a few of you, but spirituality comes with really dedicating your mind and your heart and believing in your soul path, you know, like what you are supposed to do to make a difference. A purpose is something, I should have looked up the definition of that, but I'm going to base off of what I portray it to be. A purpose is something that you feel that feels guided to do to make a difference in an area of life, to a person, anything. Like, okay, like this for example, it's a potato masher or a food masher. Its purpose is to mash food. Okay? Oven mitt, its purpose is to grab a hot pot or pan. Sorry, I was looking down at myself. To grab a hot pot and pan so you don't burn your hand. Okay? Notebook, its purpose is to write down thoughts on paper so you can visually see them. Which, for me, for an example, I like doing that so I don't forget. My point is when it comes to human nature, our purpose is to do something. you know, that feels good to our soul, that makes us feel like we're important, that makes us feel like we're somebody. And down the road, you either seek validation for that purpose, or you'll come to realize that it doesn't matter what other people think. It matters what you think. You're walking this path. You're deciding what you want your future and what you want your life to look like. So you decide whether or not what you believe in. You know, like, I think what's really amazing nowadays is so many people are starting to like wake up to their purpose, like what they want out of their life, instead of sitting back and like following the program of what they've been taught. And it's caused so much chaos and ruckus, but you know, you think that's a bad thing when you think of chaos and like, oh my gosh, there's people all over the place, they're doing whatever the hell they want to. Like, no, it's a great thing, because we have lived in like this matrix, this systematic belief system of, you know, whatever you're taught is what you're supposed to be. And that's where people are losing themselves. And, you know, I'm a prime example. Like, I grew up, you know, seeing certain situations and believing that's what it was supposed to be, and seeing how certain people were and believing that those characteristics were okay to have and that everybody has them. Hold on just a second. Sorry, my daughter seems to want to keep grabbing the aluminum foil out, and don't buy your kids toys, you all. They'll play with anything else household. Alright, so now that we got all that out of the way, a little bit about me, because you know every video's got to have a little bit of Starla's life with it. Probably should have waited till she went to bed to make this video, but I wanted to go ahead and record it while it was fresh on my mind and while I actually had the energy to do so, because Lord knows that I'm about to clean up this kitchen, lay her butt down, and probably go to sleep myself. But alright, so I grew up in a Baptist Catholic mixture family, okay? My mom was Baptist, my dad was Catholic. Neither one of them was really church-going people. You know, I never really heard too much about God or Jesus or praying or belief system. Never knew anything about that. And honestly, I didn't even know anything about God until I was probably about 9 years old, maybe, when I like went into a church for the first time, like for Sunday service. I'd been in a church, I think, when I was little, like younger than that, for a wedding, but not for actually Sunday service or like Bible study or like, you know, none of that. So, you know, those belief systems weren't embedded in me. I didn't have no childhood, you know, that consisted of spirituality or religion. I suffered. Okay, so yeah, so majority of my childhood I went to a lot of Baptist churches. I didn't really know much about, you know, the Catholic religion. I had heard my dad talk about it maybe briefly a couple times, nothing major. And then as I got a little bit older, I had an aunt and a cousin who went to church every Wednesday and every Sunday, and they included me and my sister, you know, as often as we wanted to go. And then, I'm trying to think, I think I was probably like 13 or 14 whenever we started going on a frequent basis. Yeah. But again, you know, like I said, we didn't grow up praying over our food or being grateful for the things that we had, you know, waking up in the morning, praying, going to bed, praying, none of that. So my aunt, who took me and my sister to church a lot, she was very like eager to get us saved. Now, for anyone who wants to know my definition of being saved, now, when you think of a child being saved, you think about God coming in and wrapping them with his holy protection and, you know, guidance to keep that child out of harm's way, to not make any foolish decisions, you know, and to be sin free. Okay? This is just my definition. Hold on. No. Oh, would you put it in the garbage? Is you throwing it away? You're so smart. Okay, sorry. Alright. So, opposed to if you know of an adult getting saved, they consider it giving their life to the Lord because they've went through some traumatic events in their life. You know, they don't want to go back to disruptive addictions or bad behavior. So they give themselves to the Lord and they save themselves and get baptized afterwards. Now, the difference between those two is you also have people who just get saved and baptized because it's a cultural thing. You know, it's their religion. It's what their congregated group that they hang with or worship with is a, that's their rituals. That's the word I was looking for, and I looked down in the notebook and there it was. Now I have taken... Now, a lot of people believe that you're supposed to be baptized in holy water after you're saved, which is supposed to cleanse you of all of your sins. You want a coloring book? Okay, so me and my mom used to have this debate about getting saved and baptized because she's like, oh, you need to get baptized. You need to get the kids baptized. And I'm like, no, Mom, I don't feel like I need to get baptized. And I say this, okay, because there's a depiction in the Bible that states that one must be cleansed or baptized twice, okay? And I feel like the first time that we are saved and cleansed and baptized is the moment we come out of our mother's womb. We are freshly pure and innocent. We're coming out into the world. We don't have any sins up against us unless they are ancestral or karmic. We'll save that for another video, okay? The second time that we are saved and baptized is the day that we decide to give our life over to the Lord, whether you're a child, a cultural believer, or an adult who's just trying to live life differently. I do not believe that it takes in order for you to fall back or be cleansed in water in order to give your life to the Lord. I feel like a relationship with the Lord is something that is internal, and it's not something that you have to show to everybody else. That is just my belief system, okay? Now, back to my story. Whenever I was 15, 16 years old, I think, my aunt asked me specifically, not my sister, who had been tagging along with me to church with her on the weekends, asked me to come to revival. That's the word I was looking for earlier. I had actually made another video, but I was like, no, I gotta go about this a different way. So anyways, I was looking for a revival. So she wanted me to... No. Thank you. My aunt invited me to the week's revival at church, okay? She told me that she would give me $1,500. Might have been $12. It might have been $1,200. I think it was $1,200. Or a car, which would have been my first car if I attended this week revival with her. Now, me being a teenager and not really understanding how serious this was to her was like, what? She's offering me money, to go to church? I don't know. Now, if you was to ask me the difference between God and the devil, or God and Satan, however anybody looks at it, they say that the devil tempts you with the things that causes you to sin. Now, when she offered this to me, it almost made me think that there was ill intentions to it, because I'm like, why would she even... Just didn't sound right to me, I'm getting paid to go to church. How is that divinely or holy? It just didn't sound right. Well, as I got older, I realized that God will tempt you with the things that make you weak to test you. which is where you end up learning your lessons at, okay? Now, I always hear a lot of people who are like, why did all these bad things happen to me? You know, God didn't make these bad things happen to me. Like, let me tell you one thing. God, in my eyes, the relationship I have with God is not so much that he's pure and perfect and does no wrong. It's the fact that, you know, we are all individually created in his version of ourselves. So who are we to say what is a mistake and what is temptation or what makes us weak or what causes us to sin? Yes, there is a guideline in the Bible, which I'll touch base on what I think about that, of what sins consist of. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is where your heart is at. Because if you follow temptation and in the back of your gut, you're like, no, this just ain't right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't feel right doing this. Blah, blah, blah. You know, that's one thing. But when you're like, yeah, like, let me go ahead and... It's a different thing, you know? It's where ego comes in. Don't really know where I was going with that. But my point is that I was sketchy about her offering me this big deal in order to go to church. So, you know, again, I feel like God was like knocking on the back of her head, you know, telling her, hey, you dangle this in front of her, she'll come. And for whatever reason, my sister wasn't meant to go. I was meant to go because I feel like my aunt was guided to lead me in that direction. So, of course, I took the bait. 16, 15 years old, you know, my first car were $1,200. I mean, I was already working a part-time job at 15, so of course more money just meant amazing for me. You know, I could do so much with that. Shop, whatever I wanted to do. I was not taught discipline when it came to budgeting or financing. So, I think it was probably the second or third day in, you know, I hung out with my aunt and my cousin while we were at church and revival, and, you know, and her motive was to get me saved. She mentioned it all the time. So she was determined, you know, she's like, by the time this revival's up, I'm going to make sure, like, I have a feeling you're going to be saved. You're going to be saved. Now, that third day in, the pastor at this church, I don't have like a clear recall of like who the pastor was at the time or what his teaching like sermons were about, but are you done? But that day in specific, he was very like outraged, talking about hell. Like, he was stomping and he was spitting in the first row and he was getting red in the face, and like I felt targeted because I started getting really uncomfortable. I felt like he was looking at me, and then I felt like, you know, that I felt attacked, because in the back of my mind I felt fear. I felt so much fear. I was like, I don't want to be here. I feel uncomfortable. I want to go home. I'm looking at my aunt. I'm like, look, I don't want to be here. I want to go home. And she's trying to calm me down. She's like, no, you know, it's okay. And I'm like, no, I want to go home. So I get up, I walk out of the room, and I go to the bathroom. The bathroom is pretty big size. It's got like a little sitting room, and then it had the actual room that had the, you know, stalls in it. And I walk in there, and there's a woman standing in there, and she's like, are you okay? I'm like, no. Like, I'm standing in front of the mirror, and I'm washing my hands, and I'm like, you know, I don't want to be here. This ain't for me. You know, I should have never even came here. Like, I'm just ready to go home. Like, I was freaking out. Yes, it is that serious. And she's like, oh, you know, if you just give your heart to the Lord. And I'm like, no, ma'am, you don't understand. I don't want to be here. Then all of a sudden, all these people that were in the church sermon started coming in the bathroom. It filled it up to the max capacity, and there were people outside in the sitting room too, and out in the hallway. They all got down on their knees and they started praying over me. Now, hold on. I gotta keep pausing this and this. Okay. So, you know, I started crying. I'm like heavily upset. I'm crying. I'm freaking out. All of the above. And I don't know who it was. I know it wasn't my aunt. Was like, Starla, if you don't believe, just ask. Just ask God to show you. You know, show you that He's real. You know, that's all you gotta do. It's that simple. Just ask. And there were so many people praying for me at that moment. Like, they were praying out loud, and it was like so. It's like heavy thinking about it right now, because there was so many believers sitting in that room, in the second room beside it, and out in the hallway, like wanting me to know what it was to know God. And because I didn't, you know, I had no relationship with Him whatsoever. So they keep telling me, just ask Him, just ask Him. So my aunt, she's sitting in front of me, and she's crying, and she's praying, and she's, you know, just begging me, please, Darla, just look for Him, just ask Him. So I said out loud, you know, God, if you're real, just show me. That's all I said. Show me that you're real. And I heard this voice that said, hug your aunt. And for a brief moment, like suddenly, it wasn't even brief, I take it back. And like suddenly, just like that, I no longer felt fearful. I stopped crying. I felt this sense of joy and relief come over me. Like, it was just so weird. Like, I heard Him. I heard Spirit inside of me tell me to hug my aunt. So I hugged my aunt and I started laughing, and everybody starts crying and laughing. Oh my God, it was so emotional. And now, I personally thought that being saved means I no longer will make bad decisions. Sorry, I had to make me a cup of tea. My throat's hurting me. Man, I'm not kidding. I'll always love you. Who loves you, baby? I'll always love you. Okay, back to what I was saying. Ooh, we all got all close and personal, huh? Now, I can't say that I was the best teenager, okay? Like, I was smoking weed and I was drinking alcohol, and I lost my virginity at 16, so I don't really think that I was 16 yet. Maybe, but I don't think so. Because I probably would have felt really weird done knowing I done had sex and went in there and got saved. I don't know. I don't think I had gotten to that point yet. But, you know, like, I was afraid of breaking the law and getting in trouble and being grounded and stuff. So I don't think I was doing too much. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm saved now. I'm not going to do nothing stupid no more. Nobody told me that in order to honor being saved, it meant giving my life as what it was over to the Lord. Alright, I'm back. I had to put the little one to sleep, so now I should have an uninterrupted video, at least for the remaining of the video, which shouldn't be too much more. So yeah, I was saved. I knew that God existed. We celebrated. We went out to dinner. My aunt gave me money because that's what I chose over a car. And unfortunately, I went back to hanging out with the wrong crew. Spent the money probably as quickly as I possibly had it. I spent the money probably no sooner right after I got it. I shopped, bought a lot of clothes. There's no telling what else I spent the money on. Bought clothes for my friends. Who knows? All I know is that it wasn't that serious to me. You know, like, it was serious in that moment, surrounded by so many believers. But the moment I went home back into an environment that didn't believe in, I wouldn't even say that where I was at, because at the time I was living with my dad, I wouldn't say that they didn't believe in God. It just was never stressed on us, you know. It just never was pressured for us to believe a certain way, or we didn't pray before dinner or none of that. So even into, you know, my teenage years, whenever I lived with an actual parent and we had like a family household, you know, it was not a big deal. So I would say probably the next time frame in my life where I actually searched a relationship with God was probably, I was maybe 18 or 19 years old. I mean, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't probably pray here and there, just because I knew of prayer, and I knew that you pray to God whenever you're going through trials and tribulations. So I'm pretty sure in my teenage years, sometime or another, I prayed for whatever I was going through at that moment. But I do know that when I got into the abusive relationship with my oldest son's father, and, you know, felt alone and didn't have a whole lot of like resources and options, I know I prayed heavily, and that was when I initially started to try to read the Bible. It became so confusing to me, you know, like I didn't understand any of the names in the Bible, the storylines, the way the wording was, like it was completely foreign to me, and I didn't understand. So I got discouraged very quickly, and I didn't try again. Now, of course, there were specific, I feel like I've been saying that word a lot in this video, but whatever. That's a common word, a prominent word in my vocabulary. So there was certain scriptures that I knew of, or certain chapters that I knew of, that were great for getting people through certain situations in their life, like Psalms or Matthew, or you know, some people read Revelations just as like to know about what's to come, or let's see, I read a lot of Psalms, I read a lot of Isaiah, a lot of Matthew, Daniel, what is Proverbs, I don't know. It's like almost kind of like I skipped through certain chapters and read those. I didn't start from the beginning to the end. I skipped through and I kind of hopped all over the book. Later on, about a couple years down the road, I became so lost in life that I started to reach out for God more. Now, I'm a firm believer that it takes for you to really go through some drastic situations in your life, lose everything, lose your loved ones, or, you know, just come down to a breaking point to where you find, like, even if you're a non-believer, like if you don't believe and you have just a bit of hope or thought that maybe God exists, then I feel like that those people, if I'm speaking to you, or if you know people who don't really believe in God, but they have an inkling that he might exist, you know, there might be something out there. It's those people, and I'm saying this because I was one of those people. It's those people who have to get to a complete breaking point, all the way down on the ground. I mean, to where you have no option but to come up, is whenever you start to really search for spirituality or God or our creator or whoever you believe in. You start to search for outside sources that you can't see. And it's crazy because I had hold on. Had a conversation with my niece not too long ago about God, and she was like, I don't believe in God because I can't see him. And I was like, I've heard that saying so many times from different people throughout life, and they're like, I can't, I don't see him, so because they say you walk by faith and not by sight because you can't see the Lord. But it's like people who say, you don't see oxygen, but you're breathing it, right? And my niece was like, but you can see it in the wintertime when it's cold. And I'm like, well, some people see God in certain situations, like you look up on YouTube, you see videos of where kids and prophets and, other people who have the gift of spirituality in their own form have seen God in their dreams or have a depiction of what Jesus looks like. Because of what they've seen, like, or, it's like we go back to that, just because you don't see it don't mean that you don't believe it. And I may have not believed that God saved me in certain situations in my life, but I had gotten to a point to where I'm like, I have no other option but to trust that there is an external source walking me through life, protecting me through life, because there was times in my life where damn near killed me. And I grew up with that motto, it gets worse before it gets better. And it's just kind of how my life has always been, like I go through really rocky times and then I hit a high point in my life and then something else happens and then I get a high point in my life, and it's just like, that's just kind of like how my life has been. And so then that's whenever I started to looking into praying often. And I can't say that I steered away from sin, because I really didn't even think about the fact that I was ever sinning. Like, it's like I acknowledged what sins were, but I never took it seriously enough to think that I was doing anything wrong. Nor did I really judge people for what they were doing. It's just kind of, I was just living life however I wanted to live life, and I reaped the consequences, and I dealt with it, and I grew from it, and I went forward. Now, it's like, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. Yeah, because I was just confused on like, what was I supposed to do? Is this something I'm supposed to believe in? Nobody around me believed in God. Nobody, and I can't even say that they didn't believe in God. It's just nobody really was dedicated or devoted towards having a relationship with God. It was more or less like, do you go to church? Oh, you don't go to church, so you must not believe in God. Like, that's how a lot of people think nowadays, sadly. And I am a firm believer that it does not take a church in order to have a relationship with God. You do not need 4 walls and a floor and a ceiling in order to have a relationship with God. All you need is the conversation between self and spirit that forms a relationship with God. You do not need to be in a room full of people in order to have a relationship with God. You can have a congregation with 2 or more people just standing in a circle or standing near each other, holding hands, holding hands, just praying together, believing in each other, believing that something is watching over them. You do not need to go to church. And sadly nowadays, the definition of churches has caught a bad reputation, because morals and values have gotten all messed up due to just society and belief systems, and like I said, ever recreating a new religion upon social cultures, okay, which has confused a lot of people, and I was one of those people about 10 years ago. Now, as I grew up, I also was very interested in horoscopes and astrology. I read them on a daily basis. Did I believe them? No, not so much. There wasn't, given the fact of how my childhood was, there wasn't too much that I trusted in. I didn't really trust people. I didn't really believe in too much because I just had unfortunate events happen in my life that caused me to live in a place of like dwelling. I mean, of course, like I said, I had my high moments, and therefore, I lived life a little bit differently. But then as soon as something bad happened in my life, it's like I got right back down in the dumps again. But again, I would suffer depression since a teenager, so I never really had any healthy coping mechanisms to help me through that. And so, but on the side, as like a hobby, I used to read horoscopes. Now, there was always mixed conflict with horoscopes and spirituality and believing in God, because a lot of people told me you can't do both. You are sinning, or you are against God if you read horoscopes. Because, how do I explain this? It explains somewhere in the Bible. I'm not sure where, or I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've read it because my belief systems have changed. But I believe that somewhere or somebody told me that it is against godly will to focus on the future, focus on what's to come. May I add that the Revelations is all about what's to come. The Bible is a series of storylines about lessons and people and characters that end up having certain outcomes. And then you've got Revelations, which is the last chapter, about what's to come in the future. If it's okay to read a book that has a whole crap load of events that are supposed to happen in the future, then why is it wrong? And I'm not questioning, I'm just stating. Why is it wrong to read during daily life, what called horoscope to tell you what tomorrow will be like? You get what I'm saying? Like, the Bible to me it's confusing, and I feel like it embeds a lot of fear, and there got to a point where I stopped reading horoscopes because I would realize they weren't all the same, and that probably about 90% of horoscopes are people who just create these stories and they get paid for a profession. And then you've got, of course, your 10% who actually study astrology and the moons and stars and planet alignment and all of that in order to, come to the research and what they, their scientific abilities of everything they put together is, it's legit because they've done their work and they've researched. So you've got that percentage who actually know what they're talking about, opposed to the rest of the group who just do it for fun as a hobby. And sadly, I was one of those people who actually read this stuff. I kept them people in their job. Not really, I'm just one person. But although people kept telling me that I needed to stop reading horoscopes because I was committing a sin, it didn't stop me. So therefore, did I feel guilty? No. One, because I felt like we was always astrologically connected. Now, if you want to put two and two together, I feel that we're all astrologically connected. I feel like that without the moon, the sun, and the stars and all the planets, that is what connects the universe. So in order for someone to tell me that believing in those things or following research on those things is against God sounds crazy, because aren't we being taught that God created the whole universe? So why are we not allowed to look further into it, or read into the habits or the personality traits that consist of, zodiac signs? Like, I believe that just because we're born a Gemini or a Taurus or an Aquarius, that's not who we are. No, because I believe that when we are born, the planets are in a certain area that creates the individual that we are. So, there's websites where you can actually look up the time and the date that you were born and whatnot, and you can actually see where each planet, was aligned. And listen, you can't tell me that y'all don't know people who act crazy around the full moon. Okay? A lot of women's cycles are around full moons. Without the moon and the sun, we don't have a day or a night. Okay? I'm just saying. These things external to this planet, we are all one big element within other elements. Like, we are all connected in some shape or form. There's a lot that I'm still learning. Okay? I'll be honest about that. And I'm eager to continue to learn about what goes on external of us, upon the atmosphere and up in outer space. Like, none of us really know what goes on up there. There's so many conspiracy theories, and you've got a handful of people who just believe we're just here just to be here. And then you've got another handful of people that believe that we were created by something even greater, which is where spirituality comes in. So, coming from a mother who said that she was abducted by aliens, kind of always knew that there was something else out there. I'm not joking, you all, either. Who am I to say that it didn't happen? I don't know. Anyways. I don't read the Bible no more because, one, it teaches a lot of lessons. I felt like there was a lot of stories in there that I could connect to what was going on in my life. And I think that's what it's supposed to do. I think that it connected to a lot of situations that I was going through whenever I'd read it. I always felt like that if I was being brought to a certain passage or a certain chapter to read, it's because I needed it at that moment. Now, do I still go back and read certain scriptures? Yes, of course I do. Do I still pray to God? Yes, all the time. Do I believe that He exists? Yes, without a doubt. Has my relationship with God gotten strengthened and better? Yes, most definitely. Do I believe that the Bible is about His life? Or do I believe that the Bible is a path towards believing in God? No. Now, I know there's going to be so many opposing opinions to this, and this is nothing against Christians or anyone else who reads the Bible, because let me say, there's so many different versions. So many different versions to the point to where, how do we know how long it's actually been around? How do we know that the information that's in there is actually legit? Just like, how do we know what was really occurring 2,000, 10,000, 15, a million years ago. In this day and age, the only thing we have to fall back on is scientific proof. The shit that we find that hasn't existed in this lifetime. You know, I can't knock the Bible for guiding people with godly intentions, but I don't look at it as a great source to teach us, because I feel like that as individuals, we are to be taught by our own personal experience and knowledge, which I've always kind of felt like that. I've always kind of like, you know, it's crazy because I've had a couple people in my life who have tried to teach me the ways of life. Like, and I'm just like, no, like, you can't base life off of somebody else's knowledge. You can't base what your life is supposed to be like off of a book. You can't base your life off of, you know, what the Bible says. You base your life off of what you've been through, what you've experienced, what you have felt in your mind. Yes, you can feel in your mind. You feel it in your mind, you feel it in your heart. You feel it in your body. It's not something that can be taught to you. You know, we're going through an era now where people are stepping outside of their comfort zones, because a lot of my generation are coming to find out that our history, of what we knew it, shit is switching up. And people are starting to realize that what we were being taught were lies, or the storyline was switched up a little bit. Now, you can't tell me that if certain history stories are being switched up per generation, that the only book in the world that has yet to be damaged or illegal, or, you know, just, I mean, there's so much criticism against Christianity right now. You can't tell me that these things aren't being switched up to train our mind. I have refused to talk about this for a really long time because I knew it was going to get deep. And I knew that once I really started to like open up my mind about what I wanted to talk about, it's going to hit some subjects that we're just going to be like, I don't know. You know, you don't really know how the next person beside you thinks or believes in. And like I said, this is not for me to alter anything on how anybody believes or lives their life. This is me personally, because I've had a lot of people who criticize and judge me because they're not sure of what I believe in. Well, I'm telling you what I believe in right now, and you can take it or leave it. It's not really like for me to really care about how you feel, because I'm living for myself and this is what I believe in. I believe that this world is being trained and taught a certain ways to behave a certain way, and thankfully a lot of people are stepping out of that, which is, like I said earlier, is causing a lot of ruckus, because it's not for the majority to like, it's frowned upon for people to step out of what they're taught. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing wrong with like basic knowledge, you know, like we all have to go through an education system from preschool all the way up to, you know, 12th grade to graduate. And, you know, I'm not talking about when you go to school to learn a subject or to learn a profession. I'm taught on how to live life, on what the basics are about life, on, you know, how we're supposed to maintain our individuality, what we're supposed to believe in. That's different, because what you believe in is how you carry on your life. What your core beliefs and your values are is what creates the lifestyle for you. It's a lifestyle. Period. It's not something that's supposed to control you or walk you a certain way or create segregation among people. We're supposed to be with oneself, with whatever belief system we have, not to sit here and create groups of people who believe in this and believe in that and believe in this. We're not supposed to do that. If you want to take anything by the Bible says, well, don't quote me, but this is just with my relationship with God, this is what I know. We are here to love and show compassion towards another person, other people. It becomes hard to do because so many people are stuck in their ways of what they were taught is the right way of living, creates that judgment and criticism towards the next person who's more carefree and doesn't really give a fuck. It sucks because, you've got people who are like, oh, like you've done so much in your life, God don't love you. God, those are people, when you've got somebody who tells you that you need Jesus, oh, you need Jesus. When you got people who say, oh, you need God, you need to go pray some more, those are people who need it themselves. When you walk up to somebody and say, I'm going to pray for you, and they tell you they don't want it, it's because they don't know God. They don't know the relationship it is with God. They don't understand it. And that's okay. Like I said, it doesn't, whoever you believe in, it's a belief system that has caused, there's so many, like, people are allowed to believe whatever they want to, but at the end of the day, we're all supposed to, like, be connected with ourselves, first and foremost, but also have that connection with Source, our high almighty God, our creator, or whoever you believe in, to understand that we are all equal. And I don't give a fuck what nobody says. We are. Nobody's better than the next person, no matter what you've accomplished or what you've done wrong in your life. First and foremost, believe in yourself. How did I get back to that? I don't know. Okay? The one thing we're not supposed to have in our hearts, though, is fear. And that's what we are being taught to do. We're being taught to, oh my gosh, fear that the pandemic's going to happen and the virus is going to... I'm not even going to go there. Never mind. Anyways, we are in a system nowadays where fear is being taught upon us in a lot of aspects, whether that be what's to come, what's done happened, if we do this, then this will happen, if we do that, this will happen. Guys, I'm here to tell you all, whatever we do, if it doesn't happen the way that it's supposed to in a positive way, or the way that you think it's going to happen in a positive way, it's just a lesson. They're lessons. Life is merely all about lessons. Now that you have an idea of kind of where I lay spiritually, I know I got like a little bit deep towards the end, but it's a touchy subject, and the only reason why I made this video is because I feel like that a part of me was kind of like filtering myself in certain videos and certain, aspects I was trying to touch, because I didn't want to give people the wrong impression, nor did I want to like sound like I didn't know what I was talking about, because then it would be, I'd end up drifting off into a whole another topic. And I knew that talking about spirituality and religion, was going to have to be a video within itself. So if you are still watching and you are interested to know more, I will have a series of probably about maybe one more video, maybe two. I'm gonna see how I want to lay this out, but I explained my belief system up into adulthood, and my next video will be about where I'm at today, how I feel spiritually, my relationship with myself, how I got here and how I feel about it. And if you're interested to know about that journey, make sure to subscribe to my channel and wait for further content. I will make it as soon as possible because I'm on this verge of wanting to talk about this and get this out of my system. So, for my own personal reasons. Yeah. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down in the comment box. No judgment here. I'm pretty laid back with criticism nowadays. Like I said, I am not a hypocrite, so I believe that each to their own are allowed to believe whatever they want to. But, yeah. I believe that we should create our own religion within ourselves, our own belief system, and that's okay. And let me just say this. If what you believe in and what feels pure to your soul and heart and mind doesn't align with the people around you or your partner or your friend group or any of that, and it's causing conflict, it's to be expected. And if it's causing so much conflict to where y'all can't relate, y'all can't be around each other no more, then that's just got to be accepted too. Like, you can't expect people to believe what you believe in, just like I don't expect people to believe what I believe in. I just know that there comes a time in our life where we can either choose or not choose to walk a lighter path. And the only way to walk a lighter path is to understand and expand our horizon among our spirituality with ourselves, with others. What could be what else could be. Yeah. So, yeah, I hope you all have a great weekend. Like I said, stay tuned for a following video where we're going to get deep and juicy, and I'm probably going to be telling a couple secrets about myself. But, yeah. So, I hope you all enjoy. Talk to y'all soon. So much love and light and warmth and goodness and positive vibes y'all's way. Bye.